Greetings and welcome to Crone's Corner with Cate. Today I'm really happy to introduce someone that I have worked with recently. And Sandra has done a couple of journeys with me and some soul retrieval work, which I spoke about last week. So I thought it would be really helpful for people to hear the experience from someone who has recently had a soul retrieval and was new to the work. So, welcome, Sandra.
Hi, Kate. Thanks for having me here.
Good. I'm so happy that you're here. This is great. So, we can start with a little bit of background. Maybe you can tell our audience a little bit about how you came to work with me.
So we met through a couple of conscious marketing programs to learn more about sharing our work. And that's how I came across you. And you had mentioned the work about soul retrieval, and I work energetically through the principles of Tai Chi and Qigong. And while I'd heard the terms soul retrieval in the circles of working with a lot of different people, I'd never done it. I had never really heard about it. So doing the sessions with you was something very new for me.
Great. Well, tell me, what were your expectations? Did you have any expectations before we actually did the journey? Or did you just go in completely clear and cold?
Yeah, no idea, no clue what to expect. I had no idea what the session even entailed. I had done the odd little workshop um, with, I guess, I don't know what you would call them, modalities
Practitioners,
or
yeah. Hmm.
practitioners. And I had experienced a little bit of the drumming and the meditation and the journeying, but
Hmm.
not with the aspect of soul retrieval.
Right, right. Well, with or without the details of your personal journey, because I leave that up to individuals to share or not to share, um, can you just give us a bit of uh, background or what was your experience? How did it go for you in the journey? And yeah, what was your
Yep.
experience of it?
So you had explained, Kate, that you work through power animals.
Hmm.
And so you also had explained that I could either journey with you
Hmm.
or that you could journey for me. And I'm always intrigued with new experiences. And so I had opted for journeying with you, but didn't really get a sense of anything other than this quick little rapid heartbeat, really quick, shallow, not powerful in strength or palpable in that sense, but really, a small, quick heartbeat. And then when we came back from the journey, you had explained that you'd found on the journey a piece of my 12-year-old soul. She had found respite in a tree house, and you said that often when parts of our soul leave us, that an animal goes with that piece to watch over it and keep it company, protect it. And you had said that a squirrel had gone with, which kind of explained that little bit of rapid heartbeat that I was feeling. Um, so we found that this squirrel had accompanied this 12-year-old piece of my soul into to the treehouse.
Hmm.
Um, and then when you explained a little bit more about communicating with that 12-year-old soul and letting her know that, if she wanted to return to me, that we were, ready to have her come back. Um, when you brought that to me, I could remember the exact moment in my life when that piece of me would have gone up and out. It was a very stressful time in my life. There was a lot going on with family. Um, And I was one who put a lot of pressure on myself to do really well at schoolwork. And it was a moment where so much was going on that I didn't feel like I could fully give myself to this one school project I was working on. And I just wanted it over. I just wanted it to be done with. And I just wanted things to be over, basically. And that's when that piece had gone. And it was right at that age. So that was pretty interesting. What you also interestingly said afterwards was that, and I thought this was quite funny, that my 12-year-old piece of my soul had a stash of food. And I had asked you, oh, were they treats like, you know, chocolates and chips and cookies? And you laughed and you said, yeah, actually they were, because, you know, our family had gone through different tough times. And there would be times when I would treasure or have a craving for those types of different treats and sweets. So that was kind of funny.
That's great. I love that the details when things are brought to me and I see things in the journey that they don't make sense because they're not my story. But when I tell them to someone, and then, as I said last week, they go, oh, yeah, I know exactly what happened there. It's just so, it's confirming. And it just shows me the magic of the whole thing. I can't still say that I perfectly understand it, but I trust it because this happens over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I thought was really fun, Cate, were the synchronicities. So one that really stood out in the first journey I did with you was when we went back to bring that piece of my soul back.
Mhm.
Um, you described her as jumping out of that treehouse and flying, and she just expressed freedom. She just yelled out freedom coming back to me. And you said that the way she came back to me was as if she was flying like a flying squirrel would.
Mhm.
I'd say like 8 or 9 months before our journey together, I had done an activity with a course I was doing where we pick high frequency words.
Mhm.
You told me that my girl had flown like a squirrel and then yelled out freedom when she came back to me.
Mhm.
I showed you a painting of my high frequency words, and they were flying and free. And I showed that to you, and we were like, wow. Um, and then with the second journey that we did together, the strongest synchronicity that really stood out was the second journey was a 2-year-old piece of my soul that had gone up and out. And you saw that a piece of my grandmother's soul was staying behind to look after that part of me. And as soon as she saw that you had come to retrieve, she knew that she could go, and she just went. And at the time, I was going through this real challenge with clearing clutter out of my house, and was told by another energy worker that it was because of it was out of loyalty to my grandmother. Now, none of the stuff is my grandmother's stuff, but it was this loyalty to her energetically, I suppose. And if a part of her soul was taking care of a part of my soul, that might have been that strong bond that was kind of coming through there. Um, and so that was really interesting because that was going on at the same time as we did the second part of the journey.
Wow. Well, I always say there's no coincidences.
No.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, last question is, can you tell people anything about your experiences since either journey or both journeys that would indicate what the results of getting pieces of your soul back can be?
Hmm. So when we had retrieved that 12-year-old part of my soul back, in the next few days following, I felt a little added lightness and brightness to my emotions through my day. I was smiling inwardly a lot more. I had this lighter, more joyful sense of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I could really feel that that part of me was glad to be home, glad to be back. And I did bring some attention to welcoming her back, and also feeling different cravings that I hadn't had since I was a child, which is really interesting. But I just went with it. If that was coming, then I was feeding that little 12-year-old part of myself to have some fun with that. And so that was really, really nice, a really nice experience to feel a sense of that.
Mm-hmm.
On the second journey, when that 2-year-old piece of me came back, I almost felt a little bit of that limbo, directionless, lost sense that a 2-year-old might have, of not really knowing which way to go, or,
Right.
what decisions to make. But then with that loosening, I think with that loyalty bond to my grandmother, since then, I have been able to do a little bit of clearing without thinking through too much, different little areas in our home. And so that was my biggest challenge, because my grandmother was a real hoarder. And so as I was trying to clear clutter in the house, I'd think, oh, maybe hang on to this, maybe just in case that, maybe this, maybe that. But since that 2-year-old part's come back, and we think we freed that part of my grandmother to be able to let her go, it doesn't feel like there's this anchoring energy where I feel like I have to hold on. And
Hmm.
I've been slowly working away at clearing some stuff that I no longer need.
Great. That's so interesting, Just before you said that, I was going to say, was your grandmother a hoarder?
She absolutely was.
Yeah. Yes. And that really shows how, I don't know, integrated or almost tied up that we are with other loved ones. And when they cross over, if we have not released some of those soul pieces, given them back, and also taken back our own, it can prevent them from moving on.
Hmm.
And that's often what, ghosts are, is that
Right.
some piece of that being is still stuck in this reality because it's attached to someone who's still here. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
And what was interesting there my focus was always more on attending to my energies, what I had to clear to come to like open flow, to be able to do, whatever it is I want to open up to. And then having that bit of the journey, realizing, oh, there was part of her that felt like she needed to stay back to take care of me, or part of me. And so to be able to let her go, and yeah, it just feels lighter. It feels more freeing.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, there's a sense of completeness, I think, sometimes, because we are actually working towards wholeness in getting soul pieces back, and letting go of other energies that we've been holding on to. So, yeah,
Mhm.
it's a lifelong process, wholeness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and completion. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't it just?
Well, thank you so much, Sandra, for sharing this. I think it's going to be really helpful for people who are listening. As I said last week, I put off doing the little video on soul retrieval for months and months, because every time I tried to do it, it's just so difficult to explain in just words. I always
Mhm.
say that you'll learn about journeying when you journey.
Right.
You can read as many books as you like, but listening to other people's stories about how the process goes, I think is much more valuable. And so I really appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next time.